in a container and a wooden marker that didn't quite make it through the sun and the watering. I have two containers here of russet potatoes and a little sunflower in front of those two. Once the plants start dying in a couple of weeks, probably we'll dig up these containers and see if we got any potatoes. Um, I have some spinach and some celery. Basically, what I take is celery stalks from the grocery store and then kind of root them and leaf them out again. Green onions and some overgrown spinach. This is my guava tree. They're kind of um, they start to bud, and hopefully we'll get some of these flowers will turn into fruit um, here on the ends, and then hopefully we'll have some guavas in a few months. They're pretty tasty. They're little pink guavas that come out of this particular tree. I have a little tiny pomegranate. Basically, that was just from a seed from a pomegranate that I bought at the grocery store, and then this guy next to him, bigger pomegranate bush. Same thing, seed from the grocery store. This one's a few years old. He's got some pomegranates growing on him. Pomegranates take like 4 to 6 months to mature. It's probably why they're so expensive at the stores because it's a long time you gotta wait for that fruit. So pineapple tops, basically when I buy pineapples, I chop off the tops, root them and plant them and hope that they someday will give me a pineapple. Have a palm tree that is growing just from some seeds that a bird, I guess, dropped as he was flying by. Got a mesquite tree, a little tiny palo verde. Those I just grew from seeds that I got just from various trees. This one was a date palm that grew from just the seed of a date that we got from ASU. Um, we have a lot of aloe. Aloe, this guy hardly needs any watering. He's just crazy growing. And then same with these guys up in the front. I have some snake plants that I just kind of transplanted, split up. Hopefully they'll grow. Some ice plant that I'm trying to grow right there. Some little tiny bottle trees that came from these big bottle trees up above because the seeds just fell into one of the containers I had below and started growing these little tiny trees. So I got two of those growing. Um, More snake plant. I'm just trying to see what kind of conditions it needs to grow. Supposedly they say it can grow anywhere, so I'm trying to grow it in some block here, see if that works. I have a little tiny avocado plant that's trying to grow here in this container, along with a bunch of other strange little things that I'm not really sure. I know I had some ginger planted in there. Looks like I have another palm tree that somebody left a seed to grow. And this right here, our papaya tree, which we, same thing, just had a papaya from the grocery store, scooped out the seeds, planted them in a pot, and this is our tree. This is the first fruit that we're getting off of that. Here is a cactus. These actually, my husband sometimes cuts them off and eats them. Nopalitos, if you're familiar with that, nopales. It's a Mexican dish of cactus paddles. Over here I have some sugar cane. From a couple of Christmases ago, we just planted some sugar cane to see if it would grow, and I just keep letting it grow. Haven't really chopped it down and tasted it yet to see how that was. I have a rubber tree plant growing over here. This little area is probably my only area that I have that's non-edible plants. Most everything else I try to grow has something that you can eat. This is the dragon fruit cactus. He hasn't given me any fruit yet. He's kind of a newer addition to the garden. I have a little chili plant growing there and some tomatoes that are coming back. And then here, this little garden, it was kind of a disappointment. It's kind of, normally I just plant in the ground. This was almost kind of like a little raised garden, and all we have left there is some little tomatoes growing. This was some broccoli, which actually I thought was kale when it first started growing, but then it had little florets of broccoli that I could eat. Some tomatoes growing back over here, and down there I'm trying to grow some loofah, like the little sponges. I guess you can also eat the loofah when it's young, like a cucumber or a squash. This is amaranth, which supposedly you can eat the leaves. The flowers are supposed to be really pretty. And then the seeds are also supposed to be very nutritious. So some wide pan shots of my yard are here. Basically, I have some citrus trees that haven't fruited yet. They're kind of young. My guava tree. We've got fruit from that last year, and then there's some starting out again this year. Just some little containers that just have some herbs and some veggies that are growing. Around the edges, I try to grow more xeriscape plants or plants that are kind of more natural to the desert, so I don't really have to water them as much. The moringa, I have probably like 3 or 4 moringa trees, which are supposed to be really healthy. You can actually eat the leaves, the flowers, the pods off of them. Um, you can make tea, or you can just sprinkle them in a salad. Also, like the pods have seeds when they're young. You can boil them and eat them. They're a little spicy. They kind of call it the horseradish or drumstick plant sometimes when the pods are really long and stringy. And then over here is where like the aloe, my papaya tree. I have some jasmine under here, and then the snake plants. I'm just trying different ways to see how they grow. The aloe, of course, if you've ever grown aloe, is just aloe vera. It just grows crazy. It just keeps popping up everywhere. You really have to control it. A lot of times we thin it out. Sometimes I keep the little plants and repot them. Sometimes we just kind of just throw out the extra. Um, Same with the snake plants. I had just divided them into pots and then also into some blocks to see if how well they would grow under little to no watering. Just trying out some different gardening techniques. Um, and then here's a picture of like the moringa and the long pods starting to come out on that. Almost looks kind of tropical, which is kind of funny in the middle of the desert. I don't water that much, as you can see from all um, the the dirt or dead grass that we have in the middle of the yard. I just kind of concentrate on my garden. And I only use a hose, so I don't have any kind of drip system. I don't have any kind of like special um, aqua system that some people have like all kinds of setups and stuff for their gardens, but I just have a hose and I usually summertime sometimes I will in the containers at least do 1 to 2 waterings like in the morning and the evening. Most of the rest of the year it'll be like um, depending on the container or the plant, once a day to once a week. Um, the containers, I do buy soil every spring to kind of freshen up the containers because potting soil is different than garden soil or topsoil, so that it holds water a certain way. It has, vitamins and nutrients for your plants, but it also doesn't get too waterlogged, which also can harm roots. And cause them to rot and stuff. So there's a lot of little things. I'm not a perfect farmer or gardener in any way, like using the almanac, and half the time I don't even check to see what I'm supposed to be planting. Like if I have seeds, I'm just like, I'm gonna stick you in here and hope you grow. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Like I said, like with my broccoli, I thought that was kale, but it turned out to be broccoli, so that was kind of a nice surprise. Sometimes I get surprised like that, but I do try to keep certain containers only for food items, and herbs and stuff, and then certain containers just for plants and flowers that aren't edible. So this weekend, I'm going to go ahead and go through my seeds and see what I have that I can plant in some of my empty pots. And then we can kind of, check them every couple weeks and see what comes up in the hot Arizona summer. Our temperatures are still actually just in the high 90s, barely hitting the hundreds right now, being the first full week of June. Um, but pretty soon they will be over 100 for a few months until probably October or November. So, come with me on that journey and see what see what we can grow with just a hose in our backyard in Arizona.